Hello, you are welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to be using this paper to illustrate how to cut a palazzo. I lost part of my video clip in the making of the palazzo with a kimono jacket. So I'm going to be using this paper to illustrate how I cut the kimono. So you want to determine the length of your trouser, and then to know the amount of fabric to put on fold is the widest circumference divided by 2, and then you can add 1 or 2 inches. So in this case it is the thigh, so use your thigh measurement divided by 2, and then you can add 1 inch to that. That is how to know how much fabric to put on fold. And then for the down of the palazzo, you want to mark 2 inches. That will be the folding for the down part. So you mark 2 inches. You can also, if you like, you can make it 3 inches, because most times the palazzo becomes short after wearing, especially when the bum have taken everything up. So that you can always increase the length if the length is not okay. So this is the hem. So after marking the hem, from this point you want to take the length of the palazzo. You take the full length minus the band measurement. So for this palazzo we use a band of 3 inches, and our full trouser length is 41 inches. So we'll remove 3 inches from 41, and we're going to have 38 inches. So you place your tape on this line and mark 38 inches. So I want to assume that this is the length of our trouser, and then it's going to be a high waist. So we are taking this point as the waistline. Then we need ½ inch to join to the band, so you want to mark ½ inch. So every measurement you are going to be taking will be starting after the ½ inch mark. Now this is going to be a high waist trouser, and then the round crouch is excuse me, is 26, which is about 13 inches. Okay, so if you remove the band measurement from that, you have about 10 inches. Okay, and because it is a palazzo, it is free, you can add ½ inch to that. Okay, or you use the hip circumference divided by 4 plus ½ inch, hip circumference divided by 4 plus ½ inch. So you want to mark that from this starting line. So you mark, so I'm going to be marking the 10 inches, which is the crouch length. So you mark the one that applies to you. And then we also mark the hip point, the waist to the hip. The waist to the hip for this customer is 8 inches. And then 3 inches from the crouch will give you the thigh. So from there from the crouch you want to mark 3 inches to get the thigh measurement. So I'll just rule out what we have and label it. So this is the hip line, this is the crouch, and then this is the thigh line. So on this on the hip line, I'm going to take the hip measurements. So I'll take my hip measurement from here. The hip is 10 inches, so just go ahead and mark 10 inches. You mark that on the crash line and also on the waistline. And then you connect the lines together using a straight line. So to determine the crotch extension, whatever you have on this hip line, you divide it by 4. So I have 10 divided by 4 will give me 2.5. So on this crotch line, you mark 2.5, okay, so that we can get our crotch curve. You can use your free hand to just connect it like this. Okay, you can also put your tape here to make sure that here at this angle you have 1 inch. So you can that can serve as a guide. So this is our crotch curve. And then from this line you want to mark the waistline. Okay, the waist circumference divided by 4. The waist divided by 4, you mark it from this line towards the side. You mark it and then you add 1 inch for that. Then you also add 1 inch for seam, because we need to join this midpoint. Okay, and then from this you want to connect it to the hip line. So just connect it with your ruler. So you connect it like this, and then you place in your thigh measurement. Okay, the thigh circumference divided by 2, you place it on this thigh line. And then you connect from this crotch to that point like this. You should have a little slight curve here. Okay, and then you can just take it straight down from there to the hem. You can just take it straight down because it's a palazzo. And then this hip, connect it to the crotch like so, to the thigh, and then just take it straight down. It's a straight palazzo. Now if you don't want the hem to be the same as your thigh, you can decide to reduce the hem by ½ inch on both sides. Okay, if you don't want it to be the same, okay, you can reduce it, but for a palazzo I think this is just perfect. So this is all for the front pattern. Next you want to cut this out and then cut the back pattern. So that is the front part of the palazzo. So after cutting the front like this, you want to fold your fabric again into two to cut the back pattern. So I'm going to be using this to illustrate that. So you place the front pattern on it like this, okay, and then you want to leave the crotch extension that you have here. Whatever you use on this crotch extension, you can also use it for the difference here, okay, or you can also use 2 inches. So it depends on your client's bum bum, okay. So to be on the safe side, just use the crotch extension, whatever you have here, use it as this upper part to add to this upper part. So I have 2.5, so I'll just mark 2.5. So I place my pattern on that like so, and then you also need to have allowances on this side and also on the crotch area, okay. Now to make it easy for you, you just place your pattern like this. You put all your allowances on this side, okay. Just put all your allowances on this side. We are using 2 inches allowance, so I will increase increase. There are 2 ways to do it. So the first one is to put all your allowances on this side and then cut here the same, okay. So let's mark the 2 inches first. So this down part still remains the same. We don't need any extra allowances, so I'll just cut that. And then I go ahead and cut and just trace this out. Then for this side, don't forget that we are extending here upward with 2.5, and then we'll connect it in a slanting form towards the waistline. And remember that we are coming out by 2 inches, so you should stop somewhere here. So when you measure what you have here on this waistline, right now I have, let's say 9 inches. So when you put your 9 here, you see the 9 will be here, and so this is now the 2 inches extra that we are adding. and then just connect this to this point. So if I bring this closer to this side, you see that we now have the allowances this way, so it's still the same thing. Please ignore this, I'm short of paper here. So the second way to do it is to place your pattern on the back like this, and then put all your allowances this way. Okay, the 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches. Okay, and then you extend here out. So whichever way you decide to do it, you still achieve the same thing. Either you bring this to this side and place all your allowances here, or you put it like this and place your allowances this way. Okay, and then you're going to cut the band. The band is 3 inches wide, so unfold, that will be 6. But we need seam allowance to fold in the band, so you can cut 7 by the length of the waist. The full length of the waist, do well to add about 4 inches to that, so that you don't have any shortages at the end. So for example, our waist length is 33 inches, so you can decide to cut 36, so you put 7 by 36. If your band is 2.5 inches, then 2.5 unfold, that will be 5. Then you add 1 inch for seam, and that will be 6. If your band is going to be 2 inches, unfold, that will be 4. You add 1 inch to that, that will be 5. Okay, so that is how to cut the palazzo. The video on how to cut the kimono is already there, so let's continue from there. Cutting the kimono. To know the amount of fabric to put on fold, use your highest circumference divided by 4 plus at least 3 or 4 inches. So this is our starting line. So that's why I'm going to mark all the vertical measurements. This is the shoulder line. So from the shoulder, we mark the bust point, shoulder to bust, 10.5. Shoulder to under bust is 10.5. Shoulder to waist 16.5. And then shoulder to hip. So from your waist you can count 8 inches. So you can mark it around 24.5 or 25 inches. So I'll just repeat all the measurement this way so I can have a straight line. shoulder to bust, to under bust, shoulder to hip, and shoulder to hip. And then we have the full length of the jacket. So if we are to label what we have, here is the shoulder, here is the bust point, the under bust, the waistline, and then the hip area. So on the shoulder line, we take our shoulder measurement divided by 2 plus 0.5 inch seam allowance. So shoulder is 15. That is 7.5, then add half inch. So just use your basic bodice pattern. So here we come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slant. Then the neck width is 3 inches. So I have both the front panel and the back panel pinned together. So I'm using the same neck width, but the neck depth will differ. So for the back neck depth, we use 1 inch. You just use your free hand to connect that to the shoulder line, like so, or use your free hand. Then mark the armhole depth. Sorry, the shoulder slip. So now we can now mark the armhole depth. Bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. So we mark our 8 inches here so we can have a straight line. So this becomes the chest line. So these are chest line. So on this line, I'll take the bust circumference divided by 4. We can mark our armhole length. So get the midpoint. For the front armhole, go in by 1/2 inch. So use your French curve to connect it. I'll mark the back armhole length first. This is the back armhole. And then this is the front armhole. So this is the front armhole, this is the back armhole. So on the bust line, we put in our bust circumference divided by 4. And because it's a free wear, it's a kimono, we'll add 1 inch for ease. You can add 1 or 1.5 or 2 inches, depends on how free you want it to be. And then you add your seam allowance. The underbust. And the waistline, the waist circumference divided by 4. There's 2 inches for ease and the 1 inch seam allowance. So I'm just remarking, making sure to have 2 inches for ease and 1 inch seam allowance. So on the hip line, the hip circumference divided by 4. This is 9. .35. Two inches for ease, 1 inch seam allowance. So let's connect all the lines that we have together. So we are going to blend it out to avoid any sharp edge. So just blend it out like so. And then we'll repeat the measurement at the hip. The hip we have, and we have this. So we'll repeat the hip measurement at the hem. So from this hip line, just take it straight up. So we're going to cut it out using the back measurement first. After which I'll show you how to record the front. The shoulder line, just put in our allowance, our sewing allowance, 1/2 inch. So let's cut. So I'll remove the down one, which serves as the back pattern, so I can continue with the front. Chiffon is shaky and fragile, so pin it. So to complete this front piece, we're going to reshape the armhole. And reshape this armhole as a cut through it. And then for the neckline, this is chest line, this is bust line, this is underbust, and then this is the waistline. So 1 inch below the underbust, and just mark it. If you like, you can put half inch, mark half inch there. So from here we connect to this neckline. So you can connect it like this. And then just mark it straight down. So let's cut. We'll cut the armhole. Then we'll cut out this V and take it straight down. So that is all for the front pattern. I have 2 pieces. And then this is the back. So to sew, we'll just join the shoulders. We're going to join the shoulders like this. So I'm going to cut the sleeve now. So for the sleeve, if you have a basic sleeve pattern, you can use it. You can cut it afresh. The length of sleeve is 22 inches. We are going to subtract 2 inches for band. So then I'm going to make it 21 because of seam allowance. So I'm going to mark 21. I'm going to trim this off. cap height. The armhole length is 4 circumference divided by 4. That is 38 divided by 4. That is 9.5. And then we have over here. So add 1 inch for seam. The elbow round is 9.5. So let's just say 5. Plus 1 inch. And then the wrist. The wrist is 9 inches. Divided by 2 is 4.5. Plus 1 inch for seam. So we're going to connect from here to so let's cut. So we use this to cut the second sleeve. So here are the 2 sleeves. So I'm going to be cutting the border for the kimono with this African print. So you want to measure the complete length from here, the front, through the neckline to the other side of the front to the end here. can fold it into two like this. And notch the midpoint, and then you measure. So here is 60. I have 63. So you can go ahead and cut 67. You can always trim on the excess later. So all our patterns are complete. This is the trouser, the palazzo pattern. This is the front piece, the back piece, and then this is the band. If you want a pocket, you can create a pocket on one side. It's going to have one side zip. And then this is the kimono. This is the back piece, this is the front piece. I've already pinned the shoulders together. And then this is the front part for the front design. I've cut 2 pieces. So we're going to make it 2.5 inches wide. So we have 3 inches wide. When we are through, to be 2.5. And then this is the sleeve. Both sleeves, and this is the bag for the sleeve. It's going to be 2-inch pants. So that is all for the cutting. And next video will be the sewing video. So see you on the sewing video.